It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Happy Tuesday. Hello. Welcome on in. Another sunny, beautiful, warm January day here in our neck of the woods.
I walked into work the other day and I was asking the ladies up front, like, what month is it? Like, what's going on? Like, why is it 47 degrees outside? Which, mind you, I don't necessarily hate that.
No. As long as it's putting snow in the mountains, I don't really care what it's doing down here.
Yeah, which is weird, like, because usually you think, okay, it's not snowing, it's not cold, and you think, okay, it's still on this, drought that basically we've been in for my entire life. And no, we're sitting above average in terms of snowpack.
Yeah,
apparently.
snowpack's just fine.
Mainly because I guess it rains down here and it snows up there. And that's basically the summary of what's going on in Utah right now.
That's true.
Of course, it didn't snow up there for a while because the skiers were all upset about how
resorts were panicking. Yeah.
It's like, come on, we need it to snow.
But we're not just talking about the weather here today on the Full Court Press.
There is weather to be talked about, Eric.
There is. But we want to talk about if the Aggie basketball team will storm the field or storm the court.
Hope they don't storm
a
field.
Storm the court. Utah State basketball taking on Air Force later on this evening. So we'll preview that matchup. Also, what else is going on in the Mountain West tonight as a number of games on the schedule. So we'll look at the latest in what's going on with the Utah State men's basketball team. Yesterday, we kind of recapped the San Jose game. Tonight, we're going to be previewing Air Force because that tips off at 7. And if you wanted more than what we got through on our live show yesterday, reminder, we did a bonus podcast, bonus audio yesterday. You can find it on our website and on our mobile app, where we went a little bit deeper on other things going on throughout the Mountain West and with Utah State football, as well with some coaching changes that are happening on the Utah State football coaching staff and their new women's volleyball coach who was hired and announced here recently. So some good bonus stuff there for those of you who are gluttons for punishment and want to hear more of our voices.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, keep it tuned because we're going to have, not today, but throughout the week, we've got a couple more interviews that we're planning. One with the new volleyball head coach, Keith Smith. We're also working on getting, why did I forget her name?
Kristen White?
Yeah, Kristen White. I was thinking Amy Smith, but she was like the previous gymnastics head coach, and we brought her up because Keith Smith, yet another Smith.
Yeah, that's right.
That we've had in the Aggie coaching family. But yeah, so we're working on a couple of interviews that we'll have later this week, but volleyball, one of those is we'll be able to have the new volleyball coach. The new, we do In Keith We Trust?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Is that the direction we need to go? But yeah, keeping all the latest Aggie coverage here on the Full Court Press, which takes us to the latest. It's the game tonight. Utah State in Colorado Springs. Going to be at Clune Arena tonight, taking on Air Force. Probably one of the worst teams I've seen. Granted, I've not really seen Air Force because I've not felt inclined to watch basically any of their games, except for a portion of when they were playing San Diego State, I think. But you look at the rankings, you look at some of the metrics. This ain't a great team, Eric.
No, it's not. And they're just, it used to be that Air Force, like in football, they had a gimmick that you don't normally see that works for them. Like it's not normal. It's not traditional. Well, not by modern standards, at least. And so they knew they couldn't do things like other schools could. And so they would have a design on how they would do their offense and their defense that was unique. and they were very good and efficient at how they did that. And there was a time, and they've normally had a fairly decent amount of success running that. For basketball, there were times where similarly there were certain aspects of athletes going to Air Force that made it a little bit different for them and how they could compete against other teams. And so Air Force would run a certain style that would be unique, fairly unique, but they would understand it very well and execute it at a high level. And they wouldn't have the same level of success as football had, but at least they were respectable. But over the last several years, Air Force hasn't even achieved respectability. It's like they're just throwing up their hands. Like, we know we can't compete in the portal era. We know we can't compete in NIL, but we still have to field the team, and we'll still get out there and have guys play some basketball. But there's not much that we're going to do that's unique about us that makes it tough and makes us respectable. It's really disappointing to see what's happened with the Air Force Academy with their basketball program. Yeah,
you mentioned the last few years. Since the start of the 2023-24 season, so that's this year, last year, and the year before that is basically our 2.5 seasons, essentially, they have 3 total wins in conference play. Now, mind you, we're only 3 games into this conference slate, but they were 1-19 last year, and they were 2-16 the year before that. And the year before that, they went 5-13, which, not great, but okay, you were able to be competitive in a decent number of games and get a few wins. And so, yeah, the portal era has basically murdered Air Force basketball. Because as you said, they could bring a little bit of a gimmick. It wasn't like in football where it's just like, it is just completely out of left field for some teams. In the Mountain West, you began to get used to it, but there were teams that they weren't ready to play against the triple option. It's not like the triple option is this mystery that nobody could solve. It was just, it's hard to prepare for. It's, you have to think completely differently. And then their defense tended to just be good. They were recruiting and developing some really good defensive players. And in basketball, they were running a lot of Princeton stuff, a lot of stuff that's a little more traditional, not as much modern. And in that same respect, people will get caught off guard by it. Incredible ball movement, on ball, off ball, teams that could shoot some threes, but they'd also be able to shoot well inside, and then good enough defense to get by, so long as they could make sure they had a solid offensive game. And then they were playing slow-paced teams. That was also another key. Keep it slow, keep the other team guessing, catch them off guard, and that was kind of the formula for their success. But now they basically have had teams that are full of freshmen and sophomores. And when your whole thing was, we're going to have a bunch of savvy on and off ball movement, you can't do that with freshmen and sophomores because you need guys that have been in the program for 4 or 5 years.
It's so technical.
To be able to have all the skills that you need to impart. And so essentially they just don't have the experience and savvy within their players necessary. I think some of their players are more skilled and they're also bigger than they used to be. Like, look at this year. When was the last time you saw an Air Force team that had a bunch of guys that are 6'9", 6'8", 7 foot? Like, we're used to seeing Air Force be stacked with guys that are between 6'3" and 6'6", and that's like their entire rotation.
Right.
And they would make that work by the way they played and the style of basketball they had. But now they're bigger, probably more athletic, maybe even more skilled, at least for the level of experience they have. But they're just almost too young to be able to get off the ground, so to speak. And it's kind of frustrating to see that happen to a team where now they're just kind of a shell of what they were. And as you kind of outlined, what they were before wasn't even spectacular, but at least it was somewhat respectable.
Right. Well, because we've seen firsthand from watching Utah State that if you overlook them, they can surprise you. Utah State went there, I think it was with Craig Smith, and they lost. They lost in Colorado Springs, the academy. Nobody was in attendance. I think it was during their winter break or the holiday break. There's hardly any fans there, so it was kind of a dead building. And Utah State wasn't on their best, and Air Force surprised them. And that was a bad loss for Utah State that season. And that was what Air Force could occasionally do in the past, is that they play respectable enough that if you're not on your game, they'll sneak a win out over you. But over the last several years now, it's not even that. I mean, they've had some decent players. I'm missing his name, Buzelis or something like that, who was a solid player himself, but eventually, he transferred, and he was getting recognized as a solid player, and opportunity to have a better opportunity to play at a higher level, and so he took it.
Yeah.
And Utah State has been able to get players from Air Force. Wesley Chelikowski, I'm a little surprised that he is still there.
Yeah, I thought
he's a big guy.
Yeah.
I thought he would probably transfer. Somebody would want him and pursue him, but he's still there. And he doesn't score quite as a high level or rebound at quite a super high level, but he's a big body, and he's one of the more experienced guys that they do have on their roster right now.
Yeah, and basically, as I said, they've had good players, pretty much every season, but so often they just end up transferring away. Some of them stick around, like Ethan Taylor stuck around, and he was a respectable player. I think he earned all-conference honors at some point. They had guys like Bo Becker, but you look at Rytis Petraitis. He transferred away. He was a promising guy.
Oh, that's right. It's Petraitis. Yeah.
Well, I think who's else? I think he was maybe a different player. I don't know. But they also had Jake Heidbreder, who's now on Fresno State. He was averaging 15 a game as a sophomore, and had him and Rytis Petraitis. That was like, hey, they got this sophomore and freshman. This is a few years ago, and they can develop into some pretty good players. Well, Petraitis, I forget where he went, but he transferred away. Heidbreder goes to Clemson, and now he's back at Fresno State. So they develop good freshmen and sophomores. They have these guys that play. I mean, heck, you look at, I think 3 of their starters are freshmen. 2 of their top 3 scorers are freshmen. So they have a lot of young players who can show some decent promise, but then they transfer away after their sophomore year. If they stick around for their junior year, that's when they're locked in to Air Force contracts and service contracts and things like that. They can't transfer away at that point without penalty. But yeah, they have a couple of decent players. As you mentioned, Chelikowski, he kind of draws some eyes because he's a 7-footer, but he's just not impactful for a 7-footer. He plays less than 20 minutes per game. He shoots under 40% from the field, which is almost a crime for a 7-footer. He does shoot some 3-pointers, which is part of what drags his field goal percentages down, but he shoots horribly from 3. You got Caleb Walker, who is another one of those players that is arguably the best player on the team, but comes off the bench, kind of like BJ Davis does. Walker started, I think, the first 2 or 3 games of the season, but he's been coming off the bench for the last 11. So you got those 2 guys that can give you some lineup versatility. Walker more specifically because he plays 22 minutes a game and he averages 12 and 5. Like if he was a guy that played 30, 35 minutes, he might be averaging close to 20 points with the volume of shooting he could put up. So you got some decent players in the front court, and then you look at the back court and the wings. It's like there's some okay players there, but they're young. And that's where I think the Aggies can ultimately take advantage of Air Force is the stars for Air Force aren't really going to carry them like that well, because guys like Ethan Taylor could go off and have a fantastic game. Caleb Walker maybe, but who on this team is really going to carry the Falcons? There's not really anybody unless somebody just has a completely outsized impact from their typical level of play. And with them being young, like they turn the ball over a ton, like they're 341st in turnovers per game. And I think, and that's underselling it because they play a slower pace. I think their turnover percentage, they're in the bottom 10. Yeah, they're 354th, so not quite bottom 10. They're 11th worst in the country.
Wow.
In turnover percentage once you adjust for pace. So
how many teams are there total in Division I?
365 or 366.
Okay.
It seems to change every year. I can't remember.
Because looking at the stats from NCAA, stats. Air Force is ranked 357th in scoring offense. So they're a bottom 10 in scoring output.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really is hanging Air Force back, because their defense is one of the worst in the Mountain West, but it's on par with some of the other teams that are in the back end of the conference, like Fresno and San Jose. At least San Jose, one of them has a defense that's kind of close to where Air Force is. Not good, because Air Force ranks 233rd in defensive rating with Ken Pom. Their points allowed per game may not be that bad because, again, slower pace. But again, we're talking, barely getting outside of the bottom 100 in defense. So a not great defense, but it's their offense that's really hampering them. As you mentioned, we said 357th in points per game, and adjust for pace, and it's not better. They're 355th in offensive rating. So even adjusting for the fact that they play at one of the slowest paces in college basketball, they're 357th in their average offensive possession. So they're really trying to slow the game down. They're still not. They're not getting any help from in that regard. They're just not a good offense. They turn the ball over a ton. They can't get offensive rebounds. They can't shoot from outside. They're okay shooting inside, and they can't hit free throws. So there's just a lot that's going wrong with Air Force's offense. And so if you're the Aggies, you look at this game and be like, all right, this is a tune-up game. Set a goal to be shutting down Air Force completely. Don't let them get hot from three. That's kind of one of the biggest keys. Because in the two of the three games that Air Force has won, they shot north of 40% from three. They managed to open up their offense and, score enough points to get a win. So the Aggies, they can't have another repeat of what San Jose did to them in that first half. Don't be letting them get hot from three, because that's the ingredient to losing basically any game where you're a heavy favorite, is you let the other team have their best offensive shooting game.
Right. Can't let them hang around. Can't let them gain some confidence. It's in their gym, right? You can't make them believe, hey, we can beat and take down the top team in the conference.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't give them that confidence when you have this kind of advantage. So start out fast on offense, but especially defense. If the Aggies start a little slow on offense, I think they can flip that switch, but do not let Air Force get any early confidence on offense. Turn them over as much as possible, as much as humanly possible. Be putting goals in your mind of, we're going to set a program record for turnovers forced. That's the kind of mindset Utah State should come out with this game, is even if you look at the numbers and what all this is like on paper, I think a good way the Aggies can motivate themselves is say, hey, look, we're going to go out there and set some records, because that can give you that same kind of motivation and preparation and avoid overlooking a team. Give yourself goals within the game to go out there and play your best and not suffer the kind of complacency of, oh, this team's one of the 20 worst teams in the country. We'll just breeze by these guys, because that's the thing that gets you into trouble in these kind of games.
Right. You can't look past Air Force on your way to prepare for Boise. Still take care of business against the Falcons. But you're right. This is a tune-up. This is a chance to fine-tune some things in order to get the team really firing on all cylinders for that big matchup on Saturday.
Yeah.
But let's go to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 2444, texting in. I like the Aggies to win big tonight, 96-70.
Yeah, this is one where if the Aggies force a lot of turnovers, I think they could get to 100. If they don't, I don't think they could get to that, mid to high 90s, even 100. A lot of that have to do with pace, just because Air Force is going to slow things down, and so that's going to kind of cap Utah State's scoring. They might have their they could have their most efficient game offensively and still not get to 100 points by virtue of there's just not enough possessions because Air Force slows it down. But if you force turnovers, well, that's really quick possessions. That speeds Air Force up. So there's a possibility there. But it kind of hinges on, does Utah State force 10 turnovers or 20 turnovers? And that kind of ends up being the difference between whether or not they'd score somewhere in the 80s or in the upper 90s or even triple digits.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Air Force and their schedule, and the highest output an opponent has had
It's like 81.
is 81. Yeah, San Diego State. So South Dakota and Pacific put up 80. Now, there was one game with Air Force won 98-85. That was IU Indianapolis.
One of the few teams that are that much worse.
Yeah. So normally, I mean, teams that are beating Air Force aren't getting north of 80 very often, or at least not into the mid 80s. So 96 seems a bit of a stretch because, as you said, their pace and possessions that you have are going to be a little bit more limited.
Yeah, Ken Palm, Haslametrics, Evan Mia, I think all three of them with their kind of computer generated predictions, they all have the Aggies scoring 79 points. All three of them. For Air Force, it varies between like 56 and 59. So they're all expecting a roughly 20-point victory on the road here for the Aggies. But yeah, like, could the Aggies get up to 96? I mean, again, by pace, I'll be a surprise. I'd honestly be more surprised if the Aggies score 96 points. I don't know how Air Force scores 70.
Yeah.
Scoring 70
for Air Force is a big deal.
Yeah. Like, this is Air Force just barely had a game where they scored 39 points against UNLV. Mind you, that was away from home. But Air Force is routinely scoring in the 50s and low 60s.
Yeah.
So I'll say this for 2-4-4-4. Just basically knock off about 20 points for each team, and your score prediction is probably roughly about where you can.
Then you're a little bit closer.
Yeah, like the margin is kind of what we're expecting, but possessions in the number of possessions is going to dictate the fact that there aren't going to be a whole lot of points to be gained, but high margins are there to be attained as well for the Aggies.
Quick timeout here in the Full Court Press, but when we come back, we'll hear from the head coach himself, Jerrod Calhoun. Met with the media before they left to go to the Air Force Academy. I keep wanting to say Fort Collins. It's the same state, just a little bit further down the road.
Fort Collins is also Colorado Springs. Like, I'm not sure whether or not I'm supposed to refer to it as the U.S. Air Force Academy, which is, I think, technically its own city in Colorado.
Well, it is north of Colorado Springs by a little bit. Colorado Springs is the biggest, closest town.
Yeah, it's like that's the town there, but like I think the military bases are technically their own cities, but like it's basically in Colorado Springs, and that's also where the Mountain West headquarters was,
are.
I think,
well, yeah,
is or was. I can't remember if they've made the
moving
move
to Las Vegas. I don't know if they've made that move yet. Anyway, we'll hear from Coach Jerrod Calhoun talking about Air Force next on the Full Court Press.
It's ski season, Cache Valley. This is Mark at the Sportsman, where we mount bindings. If you need bindings mounted to your skis or snowboards, in most cases, we can do it in 48 hours or less. That's right, 48 hours or less. At the Sportsman, we can also tune, sharpen, wax, and repair your skis or board so they are ready for the season. Usually, we can get those done in 48 hours as well. For 73 years, we have been taking care of skis and boards only at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan, with tons of parking in the back.
Hi, I'm Emily Peterson, founder of Serenoni Luxury Blankets and Gifts. We started right here in Logan over 18 years ago, and what began as a way to help our daughter has grown into a local business that still does everything right here in Cache Valley, from designing to shipping to our shop that's open to the public. Our blankets are made with purpose and care. They're comfort, connection, and home. Serenoni, born in Logan and made for the moments that matter. Come shop our store on 10th West, right next to iFit in Logan.
If you're coming to Logan and want a real value near USU, this is it. Say Aggie 79 and stay at the Baum Motel for just $79 a night. Right in downtown Logan, you'll find clean, spacious rooms and the kind of friendly service that keeps people coming back. Free continental breakfast, free Wi-Fi, and seasonal outdoor pool, all without paying big city prices. $79 rooms with Aggie 79 at the Baum Motel. Call 435-752-5220. That's 752-5220 and lock it in today.
Kids get snow days, contractors take winters off, but Top Shed doesn't. Snowing, freezing, Mother Nature throws a tantrum, we keep building. From sheds to backyard retreats to chicken coops, Top Shed builds on-site in your community across northern Utah, southern Idaho, and Wyoming. If your backyard's ready, we're ready, because Mother Nature can't cancel us. Top Shed, making sheds great again. Call 435-760-7766 or visit TopShedUSA.com.
The chips and drinks are endless. The burrito is huge for only $7.95. It's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant and gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and a massive burrito. You pay just $7.95. The food, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th West and Center in Logan.
Following the local teams, it's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Right now, Young Power Sports Logan has a massive selection of snowmobiles, and every sled is on sale. Mountain Trail, crossover, new and non-current inventory, priced to move. They will not be beat on price, guaranteed. So if you're looking at Polaris or Ski-Doo, stop shopping around. Best deals in the region are right here. Young Power Sports Logan, get out and ride. And they sponsor our text line, 435-339-0321. Got a couple of texts coming in through there. 8968 texting in. Aggies need to use Air Force as a tune-up for Boise. It's really easy to overlook them. I think Tim Duryea was the coach that lost the most to Air Force.
I know he lost at least once. He had losses, I think, to Air Force and San Jose late in one season that kind of ended up sealing his fate. Or at least that's kind of the way it gets framed. Even though he then took the team to the semifinal, I think, in the Mountain West tournament. It was the first time the team had been to the Mountain West semifinals. They lost to Boise there, but still got fired afterward, or relieved of his duties, as they like to word it.
Yeah, that one was a little weird.
Yeah, but yeah, you need to use this as a tune-up, and not in the sense of we get a day off. It is you go as hard as you are preparing for Colorado State. That was something that Calhoun actually noted kind of after the San Jose. We need to get back the mindset they had before the Colorado State game, because they were clearly locked in for that game, about as locked in as they've probably been for a game since the multi-team event where they routed Tulane and Davidson. So they need to lock in for this game. If they have that same kind of lock in, they might win by 60, or maybe a similar, because they were also red hot in that Colorado State game. You may not be able to replicate that level of shooting, but lock in for this game. Don't get lazy, because then you can't just assume that you're going to lock in later. You've got to lock in for every single game. That's the kind of mindset you've got to be in. Go out there and plaster Air Force by 50 points, because that's kind of by the numbers what you maybe should be doing, or it's what you're kind of capable of if you lock in. Then go take that same mindset, lock in for Boise, and you can go get yourself a win at Boise in a very, very tough place to win for a lot of Aggie teams. So, again, lock in for this one. Use it as a bit of a tune-up. Work on some things that you've struggled with, turnovers and, Utah State's own offensive turnovers. Work on those. Tune up the defense where you didn't have the greatest game last time out. So go out there, lock in on defense.
Yeah, full game.
Yeah, for the full game. Hold Air Force to 45 points. Try and do something like that. And then use that tune-up, lock in again for a road game at Boise. Take this as another opportunity. Hey, you're on the road. Figure out that road routine, because you can lock in for a home game like they did for Colorado State. Well, now get to do that when you're on the road in somebody else's arena, because you're going to have to do that except times 10 for Boise, where people actually show up to the games and are rooting against you.
Yeah, sometimes it can be hard when there's an empty gym to bring your own energy, bring your own juice, as sometimes they say. A couple more texts coming in, 9315 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. The portal NIL has not been kind to Air Force in basketball, and because of that, I don't ever see them being good in basketball anymore. Very unfortunate. So I'm glad USU is leaving the Mountain West, where the door mat of the conference in basketball will never be as bad as where Air Force will stay.
Yeah, that is kind of the benefit, because Air Force, I think the problem is Air Force is probably going to have a slow decline in base in football and basketball. I think they're going to maintain relevance in a lot of the other sports where NIL and the portal isn't nearly as much of a factor. But football, where they've been historically pretty solid, they're just going to slowly kind of fade away from what they were. You're also going to lose, Coach Calhoun in the near future. He's going to retire at some point.
Yeah, you got to wonder how many more years he has left.
Yeah, he may be kind of sick of it already.
Right.
Him and Joe Sky. I mean, Joe Sky once had a pretty solid run with Air Force, but now we're both guys were pretty good at getting Air Force. With what was already a tough situation, managed to have some success, but one too many obstacles will get in front of even the hardiest of soldiers.
Yeah, that's true. Let's hear from Coach Calhoun and hear from him as he previews the matchup with Utah State taking on Air Force tonight. Reminder, KVNU game day coverage will begin at 6 with tip-off at 7. Full play-by-play on KVNU. And then as soon as the game is over, after the coach's comments, it'll be KVNU Aggie Call, where you can tune in and call in and share your thoughts about the game. And text in as well. But let's hear from the coach and how he thinks about the state of his team getting ready for a Mountain West matchup against Air Force.
All right, I guess it's been a long time since we last talked.
Yeah, about 10 hours ago.
Yeah, have you had time to really turn around and get ready for Air Force?
Oh, yeah. Watched probably 4 games, typically do about 6. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're coming off a tough game against UNLV, but, possession length, ability to shoot the 3, going to play a totally different defense than anything we've seen, kind of a matchup zone, really like a 3-2 look. So we've got to do a really, really good job of focusing. We'll have, 1-day prep tomorrow. Get ready to go, and we've got to play better. I think we all understand that, and hopefully the guys will come in tomorrow ready to go.
It's interesting. I know we talked about it last night or yesterday afternoon a little bit. Shooting such a high percentage and doing a lot of things, but I guess their ability yesterday to make threes is what kind of kept them ahead there, for the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just got to do a better job of, sticking to our concepts, right? So whatever team we're playing, I think sometimes you get too focused on scouting. We got to really focus on ourselves, right? Good defense, start with guarding the basketball, right? Keep the ball in front. We've got to build triangles, which is really just have, help defense. And then pick and rolls, we've got to do a better job at pick and roll coverage. Air Force is going to have the same thing that San Jose has, right? They've got guys that can pick and pop. They're going to run a lot of cutters, so our cutting defense has to be good. I think really just our mindset coming back from break needs to be better.
So you use the Carson Tillman and Gary Clark lineup. I think you used it at one point during at least in one of the games in non-conference. You've not used it a ton, but do you expect to have to utilize 2 big lineups a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, partly, Jason, the reason we haven't is because Gary's in foul trouble so much. So hopefully we can keep him on the floor. One of the best rebounders in the country when he's out there. His ability to go get basketballs and pursue the ball, he's got great hands. He's won us games, right? We just need to keep him on the floor, continue to, help him understand the impact that he has. And I shared that with the team 2 days ago. Everybody on this team has a good role. Everybody on the team has the ability to help us. He's a guy that can. So I think, KT, where he's got to just continue to improve his perimeter defense, right? He's going to play on the wing when Gary's in. So he's got to be able to guard cutters. He's got to be able to get to the corners on shooters. I thought his activity level was really good throughout that game.
Looking at Air Force, they have a kind of balanced scoring, about almost 4 guys averaging double figures, but nobody really, I guess, I don't know, who do you focus on?
Yeah, I always look at point guards. I think Cam Sanders is a young man that, as a freshman, has led him in scoring and rebounding. I recruited Cam when I was at Youngstown State for about a year before I came out here. So I know him and his father really well. Good player. Looks very, very comfortable in coach's system. They're much better at home than they are on the road. We got 2 road games, right? So I think that presents a challenge in itself, right, with travel. So we'll commercial there. We'll charter back. We'll take off Wednesday, have 2-day prep. So having a 1-day prep tomorrow for Air Force is going to be really critical. We'll get in there tomorrow night, get some shots up, and then it's a quick turnaround. The rest of the way, it's Tuesday, Saturday, or Wednesday, Saturday, right? So the focus level has to be there. They cut. anybody that runs a variation of Princeton, it's about cutting. I think they do as good a job as anybody in the league, getting the ball side to side, and then just a ton of cuts. Their two inside players are kind of different than each other. One's a pick and pop, one's really good around the rim. So you got to make those adjustments. They're running more ball screens, I think, than last year. So our ball screen coverage and our rotations have to be good as well. And then I think the key is getting out and running, right? But, you don't want to play against a matchup zone similar to us. So you want to get out before the defense is set and get some early baskets. So we got to get out and get some stops.
Sometimes at San Jose, it felt like, the length of their possessions kind of helped them, where like you guys were playing good defense for about 20, 25 seconds. Then they finally found the open corner three, the inside position for a layup. Just does that kind of style hurt a little bit? Where like if teams are comfortable going long possessions, does that kind of work a little bit?
Yeah, I didn't think our press did much to San Jose. We'll make some adjustments moving forward. I think each game as you do it, you're learning a little bit about personnel, who's better at guarding the ball, who's better at coming back to the ball. We have to have more activity early in possessions because San Jose, Air Force, there's a lot of teams in our league that are going to run offense to 5-8 seconds left on the shot clock. So the less possessions, that helps a lot of those teams. We want to play fast. We want to get out and run, both with Air Force and Boise. So our ability to create turnovers is what makes our defense really good, and we just couldn't do that last night. So we'll work on that tomorrow for sure.
Air Force team also seems like it has more size than I remember them.
Yeah, they're big. I mean, those two kids were there last year, but I think their wings are bigger. Point guard Cam's a good size, strong for a freshman. We have to continue to understand that the Mountain West is a physical league. Everybody has positional size, right? We have it at the point guard spot with Drake Allen. He's big. Our frontline guys got to continue to play better. They're going to be a big part of our success and what direction we go. So I think guys like Adlin Alameen, I think Tucker Anderson, and obviously our true traditional big guys got to continue to understand every matchup, the other team's going to have some good big players, right? And that's, I think, at this level what separates good to great. You saw it last year with Nelly Joseph Jr. You look at all our great teams, Great Osabor, Nimi, right? Like those guys are difference makers, and we're doing it by committee. And those guys all got to do their part.
Air Force has kind of struggled on offense for a lot of the years. They've typically had some decent offenses in the past, but like this year and last, been a really big struggle. What have you seen that's just kind of not done well? Yeah,
they're very young. Coach went out and got a young roster. His job is much different than anybody in the leagues, right? With rev share, NIL, not sure their rev share, but just their ability to, get transfers. They got to do it through the high school ranks. That's why he went out and got a lot of young kids. So I think as the year progresses, they're going to get more comfortable. Teams are trying to speed them up. They're trying to push them out. He'll have some counters to our defense, I'm sure. So we're going to have to be able to adjust throughout the game. But I think it's, youth, right? I mean, sometimes it takes these young guys a little longer to get going.
I can't remember, was Air Force one of the teams you're only playing once?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, them and San Jose.
I just didn't know if that had anything to this game. You only get to see him one time.
No, I mean, I think it's, it's business as usual. I think you're going to go through a conference slate of, 20 games. I think it's a gauntlet. You saw some unbelievable games last night, one for the ages in San Diego State and Boise late last night. But I think every league game is impactful. I think, mindset is really important. You're learning game to game, play to play. Getting better to me is the most crucial aspect of this. You can't stay the same, you can't get worse. You got to learn. Each team is different, and Air Force certainly plays a way different defense than anything we've seen all year long. So to me, that's exciting, right? That's what I like. I love game planning. I love the ability to add a few things here and there, game to game. I think our offense made great strides last night. We made huge jumps. Defense went down. So we've got to, continue to get better on both sides is going to be the critical piece for this group.
Are you watching the Boise San Diego game live?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, that game, I don't know if I've seen a game like that in a number of years. Just when you thought one team was going to put the other away, the other team stepped up, made a shot. It was crazy. I mean, you hated to see anybody lose that game because I thought both teams deserved to win. Boise's comeback was one for the ages, and then just overtime after overtime after overtime. I was teasing John Rothstein because they were coming on after that. There's very few people in the country going to be up listening to the College Basketball Insider, but I did stay up for that as well. And I don't know how they stayed awake because I think it was like 1:45 their time when they went on.
When you see a game like that, does it make you kind of, you play Boise later in the week, they have to play a lot of extra time.
Yeah, I think what it does for players and coaches, I think the excitement level, a couple of our guys text during that game. They were texting me like, "Coach, are you watching?" Well, yeah, I watch pretty much every game. What do you think I'm doing? But I think it shows the new guys the competitiveness of this league. MJ Collins was inarguably maybe the best league in the history of college basketball last year in the SEC with the number of bids they got. So I think he gets it. I think Colby King was in a great league in the Big East. Zach Keller was in the Big 12. So all the kids that we've brought in, I think they understand what league play brings. And for a fan, it's great. The plays in that game were just incredible.
All right, so that's Coach Jerrod Calhoun with the media, and that was on Sunday. Did he hold that?
Yeah, Sunday afternoon, or heck, it might have been Sunday at noon, to be honest. Just because I think they were traveling on Monday, and so it's the day after, so it'd been less than 24 hours since we'd sat in that same room and talked to him from after the San Jose game. But that's just kind of the way it is. So it was either that or do a Zoom call yesterday. It's there's a quick turnaround. That's just kind of the way it is for some of these games. But a chance to talk a little bit about Air Force, talk a little bit about some of the things going on around the conference. A few things like them maybe using the Carson Temple and Gary Clark lineup more. They've not used it a lot, but when they have, they've actually been pretty successful in a couple games. Last game, that lineup they used the Elijah Perryman, MJ Collins, Mason Falslev, Gary, and Carson. Just by the strength of that performance alone, that 5-man lineup became the best performing 5-man lineup in the Mountain West among those that have played at least 40 possessions. So they might go to, or they might put Drake Allen in there as well, because Drake Allen has worked pretty well with these bigs as well. So, but you might see them go with Gary Clark and Carson Templin. I know Calhoun has hesitated a little bit to put them both together for spacing reasons, but if they can make things work, then you can make it work. And those guys both bring a lot of positives that can kind of overcome the negatives where there's maybe a bit of spacing problem.
Yeah, let's do this. We need to take a time out here on the Full Court Press. We'll continue to look at what's going on with Utah State with their showdown against Air Force tonight and other games going on in the Mountain West. What else is on the docket in the conference schedule this evening? If you want to weigh in, always love to hear from you on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321.
Les Olson IT structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low-voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olson IT.
Since 1896, S.C. Needham Jewelers has been selling diamonds in historic downtown Logan. Today, you have a choice of both natural and lab-grown diamonds. You'll be impressed with the affordability of our diamonds today. With our international suppliers from Israel, India, and Antwerp, Belgium, we're able to guarantee the best price. Simply magnify our diamonds, select your favorite, and have it mounted in a ring of your choice. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
As the new year begins, getting back to the basics feels pretty good. At the Old Grist Mill, it's always been about simple, old-fashioned ingredients you can trust. Nothing complicated, just real food made right. Fresh-baked breads, hearty soups, classic breakfasts, and made-from-scratch meals that fuel your day without weighing you down. Perfect for your New Year fitness goals, and even better for everyday living. No shortcuts, no trends, just wholesome comfort food the way it's always been. Visit the Old Grist Mill in Logan, South Logan, or Smithfield, and find today's menu at logangristmill.com. Simple food done right.
From small homes to large businesses, Mountain Valley Heating and Air has you covered. Their team specializes in both residential and commercial services. When you choose Mountain Valley, you're choosing a full team ready to handle every detail, every time, so you and your business can always feel the love. Tune-ups, installations, or emergency service, whatever you need, we're here. Feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. That's mtnvalleyhvac.com.
The Aggies are number one here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. 435-339-0321. That is the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. If you want to weigh in, we've already got one score prediction for tonight. So if you got another you'd like to share, we'll take it. We'll talk about it. Utah State taking on Air Force tonight, 7 o'clock. And KVNU game day coverage will begin at 6 with J.D. Walker, Stockton Jukes, and Jalen Moore. And then tip off at 7. Looks like the Vegas folks have Utah State favored by 21.5. That sounds about appropriate.
It's what they were favored at over San Jose. So, to be honest, like here's the one thing. Utah State, when favored by that much, has typically not covered that.
Yeah, that's a pretty wide margin.
Like Utah State has been favored by that kind of similar margin against a few teams. Like San Jose was one. They were favored by a lot against Fresno, and they didn't live up to that. Let's see. 22.5 against Weber State, only won that game by 10. 17.5 over Montana State, went to overtime. 15 against Fresno State, won that game by 9. 21.5 against San Jose. That's actually the closest they've come to covering that kind of spread.
Yeah.
So, like, Utah State's had some of these pretty wide margins for spreads, and they've basically never really lived up to them, with the exception of San Jose, which just came from them absolutely obliterating San Jose in the last 10 minutes of that game, whereas the first 30 minutes, they were not living up to, that spread.
Yeah, when you look at the rest of the Mountain West schedule tonight, this one for Utah State and Air Force looks like it could be a bit of a snoozer. But beyond that, every game looks close. New Mexico's at Colorado State. New Mexico favored by 1.5. UNLV at Wyoming. That's at 8 on CBS Sports Network. Wyoming favored by 3.5. And then Fresno State at San Jose State. Spartans by 1.5. And at 9 on FS1, San Diego State at Nevada. This could be a really interesting game. Nevada favored by 1.5 in this one.
Yeah, so basically, as you said, every game except for Utah State Air Force is expected to be good. Like, even the game involving teams in the lower half of the conference, it's Fresno and San Jose, who are both fairly evenly matched.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, this should all be a bunch of, like, if everything kind of goes to plan, Utah State and Air Force will be the one game that nobody should pay attention to, yet it's going to be the one that I pay attention to the most, because that's my job. So
yes.
The sacrifices I make, I have to watch Utah State Air Force instead of New Mexico, Colorado State. Going to get a chance to see most of San Diego State, Nevada, or at least the second half of that one.
Yeah.
We'll see. By the time I wander my way back home, I'll probably turn that on, and we'll see if I have to stay up as late as I did for the last San Diego State game.
Yeah, triple overtime thriller against Boise. So anyway, pretty busy night in the Mountain West. Utah State tips off at 7. New Mexico, Colorado State, they tip off at 7. UNLV, Wyoming at 8 on CBS Sports Network. Fresno State and San Jose State also at 8. And then at 9, San Diego State at Nevada, on FS1. Quick timeout, and when we come back, let's look at Utah State women's basketball as they've already exceeded their win total from last year, and see what's kind of trending with them and what their week looks like this week. Next on the Full Court Press.
This is Garrett with Cache Valley Bank. Life has a way of moving quickly. Kids growing up, students starting fresh, and business owners taking bold new steps. At Cache Valley Bank, we're here for all of it. Whether you're opening your first account, growing your business, saving for the future, or planning what comes next, we're proud to be your trusted financial partner right here at home. Cache Valley Bank. Real relationships, real solutions for every stage of life. Member FDIC.
Master Auto Tech delivers honest, reliable auto repair and maintenance from certified technicians who put customers first. From routine service to major repairs, they're committed to quality work and clear communication. With 22 Utah locations, including Logan, Brigham City, and Ogden, there's always a Master Auto Tech nearby. Master Auto Tech, expert care, local service, and confidence you can trust.
Your trusted, helpful expert, Master Auto Tech.
Addiction is the one thing that everybody knows about, but not many people talk about. If you're finding yourself in a situation where you're struggling with personal addiction, or maybe you love someone who's struggling with addiction right now, our friends at Renaissance Ranch have a place where you can go for healing. And they focus on more than just the addiction. They help your family heal too. Addiction doesn't just impact one person, it impacts everybody it touches. Learn more at renaissanceranch.net. Also, you can visit their location right here in Logan.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about 2 weeks, and I needed a bath. My neighbor suggested that she would make a few phone calls, and that very afternoon, Mark Stokes was sitting in my front room, and he said, "What do you need?"
Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
You're on your way to work when that little light pops on. The one that says, hey, you need service. But who has time to sit in a waiting room? West Motor Ford will pick up your vehicle from home or work, service it, and bring it right back. Pickup and delivery are completely free within a 35-mile radius. That's anywhere from Malad to Montpelier, Hiram to Tremonton. Plus, get $25 off any repair over $250. Schedule your free pickup and delivery at westmotorford.com or call 208-852-3853.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
I know it's been nice that it's been unseasonably warm for some, and you really like that, but a parade of storms are on their way. Are you ready for them? If not, Napa has what you need to make sure you get ready for it. Batteries, headlights, wiper blades, all in stock, on sale now at your local Napa Auto Parts store. And make sure the dry Blue Heat Ice Melt is also available there. It's all on sale. It's all available at your Napa Auto Parts stores from Preston to Providence. So let's take a moment to look at, first a few quick messages on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line about Utah State men's basketball before we shift to women's basketball. 9315 saying, I believe USU will be the top guns of this game today. They better be the Iceman tonight and not Maverick, i.e. unpredictable. Okay, I like that. And then 8968, I think the Aggies will cover tonight.
They really should. Like, if the Aggies are on the ball, if they are playing the way that we've seen them play, like against Colorado State and some of these other games where they really step it up, then yeah, this is a game they can win by 30 or 40. Depending on, there's, how many possessions they're going to be, because that can limit margins. But like, this is a game that they can win comfortably, handily, and without any fuss. But we've also seen the Aggies kind of play down to their competition in these games. So that's the kind of thing that has you worried, but it is also a pretty bad Air Force team. You shouldn't really be that concerned about a loss, although anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. Utah State women's basketball, they've already exceeded their win total from last year. Last year they only won 4 games. So far they're already at 6 wins. They're 6-7 on the season so far. They last week win over San Jose State, nice 13-point win at home, but then ended up losing by 18 at Nevada. This week a tough schedule for them. They're at UNLV, perennially among the top teams in the Mountain West, and usually flirting with the top 25, if not usually in the top 25. And then they host San Diego State on Saturday. So a big week for Utah State women's basketball, as this team seems to be coming together a little bit more and getting some more consistency out of their roster.
Yeah, they've won 3 out of their last 5, though they are dealing with the injury to Aaliyah Gales, and I think they were kind of missing her offense against Nevada. I think they really could have used that because they were just off. Like everyone, like a lot of players stepped up for San Jose, which was their first full game without Aaliyah Gales, and Jamison Heaton, Sophie Sen, Karen Sanford, they all stepped up and had great games. And then basically nobody, like Marina Asensio, she ended up having a solid day production wise, but she was about it, and the Aggies had their second lowest scoring output of the season.
Yeah, so to see how they can rebound and take on UNLV, a tough opponent for them on Wednesday, and then San Diego State in the Spectrum on Saturday at 1 o'clock for Utah State women's hoops. That's going to do it for this hour here on the Full Court Press. Next hour, still a lot more things to get into. We'll shift to talk a little bit more about football. The portal tracker that Jason has got going on, updates on production lost with players who are graduating or in the portal, some portal news, some players already announcing they intend to come to Utah State. I'll update you on those as well. And also next hour, the stat that blew our minds and our player of the week. Take your recommendations for those as well. Stick around. Coming up next on the Full Court.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Since 2000, the Raiders have been best defined by one word: instability. 15 head coaches, if you count John Gruden twice. That's just over a quarter of a century. That tells you the story before you turn on the tape. The revolving door has become the organization's identity. Teams cannot build, grow, or sustain success when the foundation is constantly being ripped out. There are obvious contributing factors: a lack of elite talent, years without a true franchise quarterback. All that matters, but it always circles back to leadership. The Raiders have repeatedly missed on hiring the right voice, the right fit for a franchise that needs to be in the modern NFL. The result is a team stuck in neutral while the league evolves around it. Coaching turnover creates cultural whiplash, changing systems and expectations every few years. Players come and go. Now, the Raiders are on the clock with the number 1 pick in the draft and needing the right head coach again. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. These